I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Welcome into today's edition of Just the Truth. Glad to have you join me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Lots to cover today. Should school districts block students from being able to access YouTube on school-issued devices? That's a decision Greenville County has made after YouTube and its parent company, Google, changed how inappropriate videos are now filtered. Also, while we're talking about schools, a Georgia football coach has lost his job. What was he accused of? Well, baptizing a group of his players after practice one day recently. Those details coming up in just a minute. A British supermarket chain called Booths has announced that it's going to begin removing nearly all of its self-checkout kiosks at stores in response to customer feedback. This is coming at a time when some major U.S. retailers are also thinking about their decision to have self-serve only. Do you like self-checkouts? Or are you like me, always end up with one of the bad barcode items and you have to get assistance? We'll talk about that in a minute as well. Ever heard of NewsGuard? It's a federally funded for-profit that casts itself as an arbiter of online truth. It's part of a growing effort by the government to police speech and decide what they believe is safe of untrustworthy information for you and I to see. The problem? Some of the very businesses they should be warning us about are paying them big bucks for their services. It's the classic tale of the fox guarding the hen-house. 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. You can leave a quick voice message or send me a quick text message as well. Doesn't matter. We just want to hear from you. Want you to be part of the conversation. Your emails are welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Sad news yesterday. Former First Lady Rosalind Carter died with her family by her side at their home in Plains, Georgia, according to a statement by the Carter Center. She was 96 years old. On Saturday, it was announced that she was under hospice care. And then we learned the news yesterday that the wife of the 39th president had died after being on hospice just over 24 hours or so. In a statement, the former president said, "Rosalind was my equal partner in everything I ever accomplished. She gave me wise guidance and encouragement when I needed it. As long as Rosalind was in the world, I always knew somebody loved and supported me." She, of course, survived by her husband, her 4 children, 11 grandchildren, and 14 great-grandchildren. Our prayers are with the Carter family. Let's start with the breaking news today. A U.S. and Israeli official said yesterday that a deal to release dozens of hostages that are being held by Hamas in Gaza could be closing in the coming days, after news broke over the weekend that indicated such a plan was crystallizing. Deputy National Security Advisor Jonathan Feiner was on ABC's This Week yesterday, saying that more than dozens of hostages could be released as part of a potential deal brokered by U.S., Israel, and Hamas via intermediaries in Qatar. Feiner reiterated that while officials are closing in on a deal, the discussions have clearly reached a very sensitive stage, he said. He also did not disclose the details of the potential deal, but reiterated the notion that what remains are mostly logistical and practical hurdles. He said, "But we're not finished. There's not yet a deal in place, and I think it would be premature to conclude that this is inevitable, given how close we have come in the past." He added, "I think one thing that I won't do is go through all the outstanding areas in which there are still negotiations. We don't negotiate those things in public, but it is a very high priority to get this done," he said. He also said that the U.S. believes that a majority of hostages are still alive and that a significant number could be released as part of this deal. When pressed on how many could be released, he said certainly more than dozens. Are you aware by now? Hamas took approximately 240, as we all know, including Israelis, Americans, and other foreign nationals during its initial October 7th attack on Israel, which left more than 1,200 dead. Since then, only a handful of hostages have been released. For more than a month now, U.S. officials have said that they are prioritizing getting the hostages out of Gaza. In the latest round of negotiations, Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Michael Herzog, said yesterday that a deal could be closed in the next few days, echoing what the Deputy National Security Advisor, Jonathan Feiner, had said on ABC as well. The ambassador said, "We're hopeful that we can get a significant number of hostages freed in the coming days." I don't want to go into the details. Nobody's going to go into the details, of course. Herzog said that they're discussing a pause in the fighting for a few days so that the hostages may be released. Also, over on NBC, Mr. Feiner told Kristen Welker on Meet the Press that they are closer than ever in closing this deal to release some of the hostages. When asked whether these potentially released hostages are women and children, Feiner declined to answer. He explained that it would not be helpful to the completion of the deal to discuss any specifics. He also declined to say whether a prisoner exchange was being discussed to get the hostages released. In the same interview, Ms. Welker pressed Feiner over whether the U.S. is confident that Israel is following international law when it comes to its operations in Gaza, with the Biden administration official appearing to dodge answering that question. Welker pointed to comments made by the Qatari prime minister, who said that Israel's actions at the Al-Shifa hospital were a crime. This comes about a week or so after Israeli Defense Forces revealed that it was going through an operation at the hospital, claiming that it was a base for Hamas, the militant terrorist, of course, who started this whole conflict on October 7th. When asked if the U.S. stood by Israel's assessment that Hamas is headquartered underneath the hospital and whether they were following international law, Mr. Feiner reiterated that U.S. intelligence supports that notion, telling Meet the Press, "We've been equally clear that our intelligence, U.S. intelligence information, not just Israeli intelligence information, suggests that Hamas is using the hospital in an unconscionable way as a command and control facility." President Biden got some bad news over the weekend as Democrats seem to be Democrat support, that is, seems to be dwindling over how he is handling the Israel-Hamas war. This, according to a new NBC poll, found that just 34% of all voters approve of how Biden is handling the Israeli-Hamas war, which has, again, been going on for just over a month now. Since the very beginning of the fighting, Biden has remained adamant over the U.S.'s continued support of Israel. NBC News noted that only half of Democrat voters, 51%, approve of Biden's handling of the conflict. Nearly 60% of independent voters say that they disapprove, while nearly 70% of Republicans say the same thing. Some Democrats have been more outspoken than others against our support of Israel, arguing that the U.S. should cease funding the country and also calling for a ceasefire in the war. These are progressive members of Congress, of course, like Rashida Tlaib and Cori Bush. They've spearheaded these calls. This also comes after a protest broke out in front of the Democrat National Committee headquarters last week. Organizers of the protest said attendees of the demonstration wanted to engage with Democrat lawmakers to discuss a ceasefire in Gaza, but that they weren't able to due to the clash with Capitol Police. The poll also found that Biden's approval rating dropped to 40%, which it said is his lowest level since he was sworn in after being elected in 2020. NBC News noted that the poll found that his support largely has eroded among Democrats who believe that Israel has gone past the line of its military action in Gaza, as well as among voters 18 to 34, that younger demographic. Among this age group, 70% disapprove of Joe Biden's handling of the war. Jeff Horwitz of Hart Research Associates, who helped conduct the survey for NBC, said Joe Biden is at a uniquely low point in his presidency and a significant part of this, especially within the Biden coalition, is due to how Americans are viewing his foreign policy actions. He said that it's stunning because of the impact that the Israeli-Hamas war is having on Biden. However, he also cautioned that Biden can likely win these voters back, pointing to former President Trump's looming legal battles as obstacles on the GOP side as well. The poll was conducted among 1,000 registered voters between November the 10th and the 14th. The margin of error is 3.1%. Up next, this is a clear example of the fox guarding the hen-house story. It's a billion-dollar industry. You ever heard of a company called NewsGuard? It's a federally funded for-profit that casts itself as an arbiter of online truth, part of a growing effort by the government to police speech and decide what they believe is safe or maybe even untrustworthy information for you and I to see. The problem is some of the very businesses they should be warning us about are paying them big bucks for their services. Again, it's the classic tale of the fox guarding the hen house. Details on that in just a minute. First, let me tell you about my friends at PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. Over 3 years ago now, I started the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition program. I was able to lose 30 pounds in just over three months or so. I started in July, and before Thanksgiving, I had lost 30 pounds. And the good news is I've been able to maintain that weight for over 3 years now. You've heard me talking about my journey. I've shared that many times with you, as many of you have shared your journeys with me as well. Megan, for example, recently called in. She's lost 119 pounds. It's not unusual to hear that type of story because Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team at PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, they base this program on the science of nutrition. This is not a fad diet. They talk with you about what to eat, when to eat, how to eat. And the PhD program, they encourage you to do some fasting as well. That's become a very popular thing. They want you to go preferably 12 hours in between dinner and breakfast so that your body will have time in between meals and get into that fat-burning mode. All I know is it works. If you want to lose weight, and you want to lose it for the last time, how many times have you been on one of the fad diets and you lost the weight only to gain it back in 6 months or a year? That's not going to happen with PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition because this is not a fad diet. This is a lifestyle and one I'm sure you're going to love as much as I do. Make the call right now and set up your first appointment, 864-252-4925. You can visit them online at myphdweightloss.com. It's a call that you're never going to regret, I promise you. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. So Real Clear Investigations, RCI, they take their jobs very seriously. As a curator, and they're bipartisan, of some of the best of investigative reporting you're going to find. They look into newspaper like the New York Times, ProPublica, Judicial Watch, the Washington Examiner. I mean, they look at more liberal-leaning ones like the New York Times to the more conservative leanings like the Washington Examiner. RCI curation shows what is being overlooked. Their editorial policy takes its cue from what they see as not being given the attention that it deserves. They are supported by by the Real Clear Foundation, a 501c3 philanthropy group, and one of their latest reports is a bit scary. Have you ever heard of NewsGuard? Writing for RCI, Lee Fang took a deep dive into just what NewsGuard does. NewsGuard is a federally funded for-profit. It believes it's protecting online truth. It's part of a growing effort by the government to police our speech, ranging from lies to dissent from official narratives. Fang reports, as the Twitter files revealed, censorship can come in different ways. One, he writes, direct government cajoling of social media and news outlets. Two, through seemingly benign non-governmental organizations such as the Stanford Internet Observatory, or another way, he says, through a for-profit like NewsGuard, which sees speech policing as a $1.7 billion market. NewsGuard uses 0 to 100 in its scoring. It's sort of a nutrition label, if you will, to classify entire news sites as safe or untrustworthy. Clients, including U.S. government agencies, pay NewsGuard for the service. But that creates conflicts of interest with NewsGuard's financial model. Buyers of the service can be some of the entities that are problematic, with an interest in suppressing or shaping the information that is put out there. For example, NewsGuard's largest investor represents Pfizer, whose COVID vaccine has been questioned by some news outlets that have received low scores. So if you question the wrong person, you may get in the crosshairs of NewsGuard, and their ratings are subjective. For example, the New York Times, which repeatedly carried false and partisan information during the Russiagate hoax, has a 100% rating. Let that sink in. How is that even possible that the New York Times has a 100% rating when we know what type of organization and the type of reporting that the New York Times does? I mean, I don't know if they even try to hide it, but we know that. But it should tell you exactly what type of organization NewsGuard is, right? Get this, Real Clear Investigations, the publisher of this report that I'm referencing, has an 80% rating after attracting NewsGuard's attention when it unmasked the whistleblower of the first Trump impeachment. NewsGuard also offers what they call their Brand Guard. It's a service for advertisers with an exclusion list that warns them off of buying space on certain sites that they say are problematic. So the way this works is, if you're not towing the line that NewsGuard thinks you should, they give you a bad rating, and then advertisers who think that this is an unbiased service, they stop buying spots. They stop buying ads in your newspaper, in your magazine, or on your website, or in your podcast, like Just the Truth here. Talk about getting to the truth. Your comments are welcome on the Truth text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. You can leave a voice message as well, and your emails are welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. I mean, think about that for a minute. The very organization that some of these publications, some of these businesses are paying for what should be unbiased opinions, they're totally biased based on who's paying them the most money. Just goes to show you that you have to be wary of some of these ratings types bureaus like NewsGuard. You got to follow the money and see where the money is. Changing topics here a bit. You probably noticed that more and more retail stores have self-checkout. Some stores only have self-checkout. And that is, to me, is the most annoying thing there is. So you're in a retail store, and you go up to pay them, to give them your money for the product that you need. And in some cases, there's some teenager over there just standing around looking. In some cases, looking over your shoulder while you check out. What if they have the time to look over your shoulder while you're checking out? Why don't they just check you out? And it never fails for me that I get up there and one of the barcodes is bad. So they have to do a price check. They have to look it up for me anyway. So we really haven't saved any time. This is starting to filter back to some of these retail chains, particularly in the UK. News over the weekend says that British supermarket chain Booths, this is kind of like an Ingles to us, Booths has begun removing nearly all of its self-checkout kiosks because of the customer feedback that it has received. Again, Booths is an upscale grocery chain that's in northern England. It's moving against the self-checkout trend. The two largest grocery chains in the UK, Tesco and Sainsbury's, have installed thousands of self-checkouts while reducing the number of staff checkouts. Boost Managing Director Nigel Murray told the BBC, quote, "We like to talk to people, and we're really proud that we're moving largely to a place where our customers are served by people, by human beings. So rather than artificial intelligence, we're going for actual intelligence." So good for them. Murray told the outlet that customers found Boost self-scan machines to be slow and unreliable, as well as impersonal. He said, "We're not great fans of self-checkouts. We pride ourselves on great customer service, and you can't do that through a robot." He's right. He explained to the grocer, which is a trade, said that Boost first installed self-checkouts in its stores 6 years ago as a means of promoting efficiency and controlling labor costs, but that customers did not enjoy having to wait for their ID to be validated by a staffer when purchasing alcohol, and that there were challenges with checking out produce and other items. That's where I am. I mean, you get up there with a baked potato, or a potato that you haven't baked yet, but a potato, and there's no barcode on it, and you can't find it. They have to come over and assist you. It's never saved me time. I despise them. Boost says that while eliminating most of its self-checkouts, they will have some in some of their busiest stores and some in heavy tourist areas. The move away from self-checkout lanes by Boost comes as some major U.S. retailers like Walmart and Wegmans are reevaluating their use of self-checkouts too. Walmart recently removed self-checkout lanes from several stores in New Mexico, and saying that there's a lot of theft that is involved with self-checkout as well, and that they're testing going back to employee-assisted checkouts, or at least having more employees at the checkout area. Again, if you have as many people watching over their shoulders while they self-checkout, why not just let them check you out? Wegsman told the New York Times that it backed off of a popular self-checkout app because the losses we are experiencing prevent us from continuing to make it available in its current state. People, sadly, just aren't honest. They're putting things in the bag before they scan it. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Do you like self-checkout? Or would you prefer a real person? Does it ever save you time? You know, about the only time that it does save you time, or it's been my experience, is if you have a couple of items and they're clearly marked. But if you've got a buggy load of groceries with all types of vegetables and things that you have to sometimes look up, it never works. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. You can leave a quick message, or you can text me your comments. Your emails are welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. On the Truth text line, Faye writes, "How did our train jump the track so quickly? Our country would be lost if we don't have a change in leadership, and those who like Tricky Nikki need to listen to her saying her first action as president would be to initiate digital ID. See how it's working in China." Thank you, Faye, for your comment. Susan says, this is Susan from Hartwell, "Great podcast as usual. I wonder how many trees the National Insecurity Agency killed for their stupid woke glossary document." National Insecurity. Of course, Susan's referencing the story I talked with you about recently, where the NSA has a very extensive woke glossary of words that federal employees, the National Security Agency in particular, have to abide by. Our positive encouragement for today from a texter: "Nobody really cares if you're miserable, so might as well be happy. God bless and love." Thank you for that. 864-477-5639. Your texts are welcome as well. From a note on Facebook that one of my friends sent me. So a meme, I posted it. You can find me on Facebook. When you do, please follow me, like me. It's called the 5 best sentences. 1, you cannot legislate the poor into prosperity by legislating the wealthy out of prosperity. Good point. Number 2, what one person receives without working for, another person must work for without receiving. Another good point. Number 3, the government cannot give to anybody anything that the government does not first take from somebody else. Another good point. Number 4, you cannot multiply wealth by dividing it. And number 5, when half of the people get the idea that they do not have to work because the other half is going to take care of them, and when the other half gets the idea that it does no good to work because somebody else is going to get what they work for, that is the beginning of the end of any nation. Can you think of a reason for not sharing this? Neither could I. And I shared it. You should share it too. Go to my Facebook, find it on Facebook, share it, like it, comment it on it. Should school districts block students from being able to access YouTube on school-issued devices? That is a decision that Greenville County has made after YouTube and its parent company, Google, changed how inappropriate videos are actually filtered now. Details on that coming up in just a moment. First, portions of today's show brought to you by Discounted Appliance Warehouse. Just go to dawpickens.com, or better yet, take the short drive to Pickens. If you're looking to replace a broken appliance, or maybe you've upgraded the kitchen and now you need brand new appliances, when you're ready for your appliances, you don't want to have to wait weeks or months to get them, do you? Fortunately, when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, there's not any shipping or supply issues. They have over 1,500 appliances in stock. You can buy it today, use it today in most cases, and talk about service. They have an award-winning service department, extended warranties, expert installation. They treat you just like family well after the sale. You're more than a credit card swipe to Jeff and the whole team at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. If you're looking for a new appliance, look no further than Discounted Appliance Warehouse in downtown, just outside of Pickens there. Also, they have their great clearance sales. They're over at the market at the mill. So, and you can always find them online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. So Greenville County students are no longer able to access YouTube from their school district-issued devices, including Chromebooks. Greenville County Schools said it made the decision after YouTube and its parent company, Google, changed how inappropriate videos are being filtered. Tim Waller, the district's director of media relations, said in a statement, recently, from what I understand, YouTube and its parent company, Google, made changes to its filtering system, which made it virtually impossible for a school district like ours to filter out some of the inappropriate content. Waller said this left the district with no choice but to block YouTube on all district-issued devices. He said school districts like ours have an obligation to protect students from inappropriate content. There's a federal law. It's SIPA, the Children's Internet Protection Act. I wonder why this doesn't apply to some of the books that the left. Wonder how the left feels about this. They'll be picketing and marching up and down outside of the schools because the school district is simply trying to protect these kids from things they shouldn't see. Same thing applies with some of the books in the libraries, right? According to the school district, the problem stems from videos labeled as YouTube Shorts, which are short videos, kind of like TikTok. That's just become the craze these days. Waller explained, with the short videos where they're constantly going from one to the next, that's what makes it impossible to filter out. YouTube is not the first site the district says that it's blocked. They blocked TikTok previously. Facebook is blocked. Twitter, which is now called X, is blocked. Instagram is blocked. As a general rule, most social media sites are now blocked. Educational YouTube videos have been used by teachers in the classroom, according to the school district. Waller said many of these videos have already been approved for teachers to continue using, and if a teacher finds a new educational YouTube video that they want to show their students, there's an approval process they can follow. Once the video is approved, it will be uploaded to Google Classroom for the teachers to use. While on the topic of schools, a Georgia high school has parted ways with its football coach in the aftermath of a social media video, speaking of videos, that showed 20 of his football players being baptized. Let that sink in. according to the report in the Western Journal, on October the 23rd, Coach Isaac Farrell, the head coach at Tatnall County High School in Reidsville, Georgia, it's about 60 miles west of Savannah, had a baptism after practice. There was a post on the team's Facebook page afterwards reading, "Yesterday, after practice, Coach Farrell gave the guys the opportunity to be baptized by Pastor Few. 20 young men made the decision to go #all in with Christ, show them some support bigger than football." Now, when I first saw the headline that a high school coach has lost his job, I'm thinking, it's some type of assault, which we read way too often these days. As I read a little bit further and learned of the story, I'm thinking, why would you fire a football coach because he's baptizing his students? Evidently, reaction to the video led Freedom from Religion Foundation to put the school district on notice, saying that the baptism was unconstitutional and that Farrell should be told never do it again. The group said in a news release, "Student athletes have the First Amendment right to be free from religious indoctrination when participating in their public schools' athletic programs. It is illegal for public school athletic coaches to invite or instruct others, such as pastors, to lead their team in prayer or other religious activities, including proselytizing and baptisms." Now, remember, go back to the post. The post said that Coach Farrell gave the guys the opportunity to be baptized, and 20 young men made that decision. Nobody made them do this. And this guy should be getting a raise. He should be applauded for leading these kids to Christ, but yet he can no longer coach football because of this Freedom from Religion Foundation. A few days later, Tatnall County Superintendent Kristen Waters said that Coach Farrell had been removed from his job, though he will be allowed to continue to teach, according to WSB-TV in Atlanta. Now, listen to part of the statement. "The safety and security of our students is paramount to the Tatnall County Board of Education. Based on the outcome of an investigation into an incident that occurred Friday night, November 3rd, while traveling after the football game, the district decided that it would seek a head football coach that aligned with the best interests of the students of Tatnall County for 2024-2025 school year." Now, what better interest could you have in your students in leading them to Christ? Waters claimed that removing Farrell supposedly wasn't connected to the baptism at this time. Well, why? Why would you remove him? The timing sounds pretty suspicious to me. She would not comment any further. Latifah Johnson, whose son was one of the players who was baptized by the Reverend Gary Few, said that this saddens her. She said, "I was extremely proud of him because he made the decision on his own. I didn't have to hold his hand, and he did it because he wanted to do it." Her son is a sophomore, according to the report. She said that she enjoyed seeing the Facebook video of the baptism. "It was so sweet because you see the boys and they looked like they wanted it. Like everyone looked excited," she said, "from the ones I was able to see. So was cheering, 'Thank you, God. Yes, yes, yes. I was all for it,'" Miss Johnson said about her son being baptized. This is what happens when you take God out of the equation. We will have to just pray for this coach and pray for this school district and pray for school leaders all around the country that this doesn't become practice in other areas. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so you can receive our latest emails and the most up-to-date news. By the way, plan to join me later today, 9 until 12 noon, throughout this week of Thanksgiving, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, as I'll be sitting in for Mike Gallagher. You can just download the Mike Gallagher Show app, visit MikeOnline.com as well, or you can watch on the Salem News Channel. That's the SalemNewsChannel.com. Either way, I hope you'll join me as I sit in for Mike Monday through Wednesday of this week on the Mike Gallagher Show. Thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Keep your comments coming via the Truth text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. And keep your emails coming as well. Hope you have a wonderful day. We're back again tomorrow. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.